We decided that this was the right time of year to think about hope, and what a gift that we just happened to have the opportunity to have Ken with us this morning. And Ken is someone who exudes hope. I don't know if you've ever been around Ken, you know that there's something about his whole character that seems to offer hope in such generous ways. I've gotten to actually experience that for over 20 years in different moments of interaction. And it's one of the wonderful little blessings of my life. I want to say I'm also wanting to do a little embracing of hopelessness this morning. And there's a reason for that. I think sometimes it's really tough. I see it all the time. People who have come to a place in their life where it feels like there's just no way forward. There's no path forward. Hopelessness. It can be a place where depression kind of sinks in and takes hold. Or it can be a doorway to something new. In fact, I'm convinced that, we talk a lot about the gospel being that great hope. But if you really read the gospel, you discover Jesus in the gospel seems to continually be suggesting that we really ought to give up hope. We ought to give up hope. We ought to give up hope in things like hierarchical systems ever offering us something truly human and whole. We ought to give up on the idea that power to dominate others is ever going to lead us to fulfillment and happiness or to a healthy culture. We ought to give up hope on the idea that having power and money can make life worthwhile in the long run, right? There are times in our lives where we have been indoctrinated or we've bought into ideas about life that the gospel would say are hopeless. And the opening to new life, to rebirth, to high hopes that can matter and make a difference does begin in hopelessness. Because as long as we continue to cling to ideas about life and about ourselves that can never come true because they don't work and they won't lead us where we want to go, as long as we cling to hope that they somehow will, we are destined to a stuck cycle of hopelessness. And I'm speaking not just about us as individuals, but us as a community and us as a culture and a world community. If there's anything in the gospel that I find most challenging, it's this. Our hope has to move to something different. And as Ken was just singing about, maybe it's about moving out beyond our sense of our own power to make that happen. Maybe it's about learning that life's really about being connected to other people and how we together join hands in a circle rather than trying to play king of the hill. Maybe it's more about us discovering that our own weaknesses, our own lack of ability at times, are there for a reason, that offer us an opening to see life without the domination system that Walter Wink talks about. When I think about that, I think about how so often in my experience of counseling or talking or my own family, my own life, our tendency is we want to hide those weaknesses. We want to hide those broken places. We want to try to find a way to live out what has been kind of the dominant theme of humanity, which is be strong, live strong, Don't show your vulnerability. Someone will take advantage. It's survival of the fittest. And yet somehow it always comes back that in our brokenness is our opening to life. It's in the cracks that the light can get in. I don't know where you are right now with your own journey. Maybe you experience some hopelessness like I do. I have some hopelessness about whether anyone who's ever elected to powerful position in our culture can ever live up to what we expect of them. Human beings are seldom likely to do that. That's one of the areas in my life that I'm beginning to try to recognize and maybe let go of that hope, that there will ever be a perfect leader. It seems like we live in a culture that is always wanting to pick apart anyone who steps forward in leadership. Depending on a leader to make life better is just a part of that hierarchical system, isn't it? Of power and domination. Michael McDonald from the Doobie Brothers said, it may be in a way that speaks to me at least, let them build their kingdoms. You and I make life worth living right here in each other's arms. I'm here to love you. How is it that we move beyond the need to have the powerful make life better, and we just make life better? Maybe giving up hope for you is like something about that. Maybe this morning, learning to embrace hopelessness and move through it to the doorway that it can be is something much more personal. I've experienced plenty of times in my life where trying to find what I was looking for in a job or a relationship or in some sense of what I thought I was here to do continued to hit that 50-foot wall. And it's so hard to know, isn't it? It's really hard to know whether having high hopes to continue to batter that wall, to continue to push away at it, if that's going to be what makes the difference. And sometimes it is. But there are other times that backing away and opening ourselves up to our own limitation, embracing the hopelessness of a situation, can be the only path to discovering where we're called to now. Which reminds me of a trip I took once. I took a trip once with a group of people to go work on an earthquake-damaged church down in Costa Rica. It was out on the western shore, Costa Rica, on the Pacific side. And the foundation was about all that was left. There were big pieces of cinder block and steel reinforcement that we were supposed to, in the week that we were there, in the middle of the summer in 107 degrees, tear up with sledgehammers. And it, for me, was great. Okay, let's go, let's do it. After the first day, I thought I had joined a chain gang, because slinging a sledgehammer for more than about an hour that's about me, right? That's about it. And so after 4 or 5 days in 107 degrees, banging against this stuff, trying to break it up and get it loose, there was one piece of this church that was still standing. It was about 1.5 stories tall, and we had gotten some spray paint and painted Moby on it. And I felt like, call me Ishmael. I'm just we had become mindless in our attack of this thing. We had lost ourselves in trying to tear it down. It was all that we did from 8 in the morning till about 5 in the afternoon. And we finally got it down. And, the team was exhausted, and after 5 days of doing this, we were ready to go to our little R&R day. And as we were pulling away from the site, we saw a truck pull up behind where the church was, and on it was a trailer, and on the trailer was a jackhammer. and a generator. And I thought, could there be worse timing for this team, right? Sometimes we don't even know the tools are there. Sometimes we live with a sense of commitment to something, not even realizing that if we just reach out to the people around us, if we just look in the eyes of the people around us, if we just offer vulnerably what it is that we're struggling with, discover the tools are there. There's a way forward. But to continue to hold it in so tight, to continue to play that game of rugged individualism, I've got to do this on my own, can be such a trap that leads to sometimes bitterness and resentment. If you find yourself here at the beginning of the year a little fearful about investing any new energy in any new hope for yourself or for your family or for your country, for your community, consider the possibility maybe that, like the gospel lesson that we read this morning, it's more about where we put our hope. And yes, hopelessness, it's a message. It's a part of the journey. Whenever we invest our energy and give our powers and hearts to a cause or to commit to a person or to anything, there are going to be walls that we run into. But somewhere in that journey, in the midst of even the most hopeless moments, there's a door. There's a door that may just be the most important spiritual lesson we have to learn in our lives. And that may well be to give up hope in the things that we've hoped in and discover a hope that's much, much bigger.